On Route 28, I stop at Fischer Towers for a grueling and spectacular hike. This is about a 2.2 mile trip, so about 4.5 miles. Down inside the canyon now. Doesn't look like those will last for many long years. That one in particular, the big one's quite thin. Elsewhere, these little statuettes are called hoodoos. Still another view from another little part of this canyon area. And yes, I'm breathing hard because it's steep. It almost looks like mud that's eroding. The irony is there are thousands of intimate places like this, not as spectacular, but as little canyons that you can climb in all over the West. And these little hoodoos sit up there almost as though they were like little statues on some fortress wall somewhere. Now we're looking at that big slab from the side. Now we can see where the trail goes along the base there. This reminds me of standing at the base of some of the great churches in the world and looking up at their towers. But somehow this seems more grand. As you look at them, they almost seem as though they were made by an intellect and that there were designs in them at various levels, and they've simply eroded away over time. Understanding the geology of this must take a great deal of the wonder out of it that ancient man had. Somehow reminds me of Rodin's Thinker. Imagine how pretty this little wash would be immediately after a storm, with the water rushing down like a series of falls. And then there are always those whose skills can exceed the dreams that any of us would have. Imagine this little pool of water as the great safeguard to little animals and birds that live at this elevation. This little pinnacle with a cairn on top is our last little pinnacle for this climb, at the end of the climb. There's my little van waiting for me to return. I'll do a 360 pan to the west, north and west. Spectacular country. There's my little van waiting for me to return. I'll do a 360 pan to the west, north and west. Spectacular country. It's interesting when I travel places and they'll stop somewhere in desert country like this or wherever, and we'll look at something that is in its context outstanding and unique. But then you'll come back to the United States and you'll find thousands of square miles of the same thing and more, even more spectacular. You can see a road down there for the adventures. Notice there's that big flat spire there, if you will, down top, and then down below it and over one canyon. There is the long, I'll focus down a little tighter, but there's the long stretch along that canyon wall that overlooked that little pool of water. Just a pan down into the canyon beneath me. No end to the adventures that America offers to the extreme small percentage who even think of taking advantage of it, assuming they have the physical ability to do it. And don't see many tracks. In fact, I don't think I've seen any tracks of large animals up here. It's just too rugged, not worth the effort. Doesn't this just remind you of a skyscraper? Which of course it is. I just spoke to a mountain climber here from France, I can't do that, but we can kind of do it. We can go up the mountain with the camera. I can't imagine having the courage to do that, but definitely appears to be overhanging at the top, which will someday make for a spectacular moment in geological history. From here it looks like the head of an animal seen from below, the wolf mouth. Sometimes there are points on the trail that get more of your attention than you want the trail to be able to get. This was such a point when I came up. See, the trail winds around this closest little point, then we go down into a little gully and up a ladder, believe it or not, and then up to that trek underneath. That wall of rock. Again, one of those dicey little parts of the trail that get your attention. Oh, I just have to talk to myself to keep myself from getting weird about it. It really is quite safe, unless you freak yourself out. The last time I used a circuitous route up behind me on the rocks to get around this little spot, but this time I thought I'd try their ladder. A fairly large version of the only wildlife I see up here. Don't even see birds. I've kind of got him trapped here. I'll just walk slowly and not make him panic too much. But he's got about 500 feet or 1,000 feet of rock on the right, about 500 on the left. Looks like he's in bare feet also. Gotta be the fun way to do the mountain. Now look at the little hoodoo on the right of those two. As we get closer and closer, to me it looks like an old Englishman. Maybe Rumpole of the Bailey with a little top hat on, leaning over from the back and with his neck forward.